Finally, in this session, I want to bring in Noel McClean, who is the National Secretary of BECTU. Noel.
Oh, thank you, Julie. Hello there. So BECTU represents workers across the creative industries, mainly in kind of backstage and technical areas, and this plugs right in, which is why I'm delighted to be here and delighted to offer BECTU's full support actually for Tim's petition and the kind of wider campaign. And what's been great is the kind of breadth of the panel and the breadth of the kind of discussion where this is viewed, at least on this panel, for this event, to be right across the industry. And that's really good to see, because I think sometimes in kind of parliamentary circles and decision-making circles, I think that point sometimes gets missed. So many of our members make a significant portion of their income from touring across the EU. Many of them, report that half or three quarters of their annual earnings come from touring in the EU, and they're simply not going to be able to do that once this comes in with the current rules. So in terms of what it might mean, I think we are actually starting to see that. We have been sent adverts, copies of adverts, where, to be fair, it's corporate gigs, but they are advertising for technicians, they are advertising for touring professionals, and they are actually stating at this moment they're not looking for UK passport holders, or they're saying only non-UK passport holders ought to apply. And it just shows you the kind of level of debate in this country as opposed to the reality of how this affects working people, because they don't seem to care actually what colour it is. We had a big debate about returning our passports back to deepest blue, but over there it doesn't matter. The colour of the passport doesn't seem to matter. So people are being told, UK passport holders, please don't apply for this opening. The cabotage rules, the carnet rules, that's part of it as well. And we are starting to see that as we are hearing about specialist companies who supply kit, specialist kit and hire kit, seem to be setting up so these are UK companies setting up a permanent base in the EU to avoid some of these rules. Now that's understandable, and no one's going to criticise them for that. But of course, all that equipment has to be serviced, it has to be maintained, and the way it sits at the moment, that won't be done by UK workers. So right across the piece, UK workers are gonna kind of lose out. I think it's worth talking about this bit about the economy again, because it is so important. 111 billion in terms of value to the UK economy, 5.8 billion just from music alone, 36 billion in UK exports, which makes up 12% of the UK's service exports came from the creative sector. And I think that there might be a temptation to view an economic powerhouse like that, because it is. Before lockdown, the creative industries were a rate of growth which is twice that of the rest of the UK economy. There is temptation to think that there's some resilience there, but of course there isn't. It's a very delicate ecology. The whole industry is based on collaboration and kind of inter kind of dependencies, and I think that is being lost. And I think if we don't get this sorted out, one of our members said to me during the week leading up to this, he said, look, sometimes when you listen to politicians talk about us, they seem to be at a point where they don't know enough. And if they do know enough, they don't understand enough. And if they know enough and understand enough, they're certainly not doing enough. And there's a real danger that if we don't get this sorted out on the back of COVID and the woeful support for freelancers that was put in place for those, that we're all going to end up poorer. People will lose work, people will lose income, the country will be poorer financially, but also crucially poorer in a cultural sense as well. And we've got to make some movement on this. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Noel. I think as from a parliamentarian's point of view, the amount of MPs that have tried to get into the debate today shows just how high up the agenda this has moved. So I think many politicians do care massively about this. Before I go